Tonight, our team inside Cuba, the massive May Day demonstrations there as President Trump increases pressure with new sanctions against the Cuban government. Gas now costing up to $40 a gallon there. So what are the Cuban people saying about their future? Matt Rivers in Havana for us.
Tonight, as thousands of Cubans took to the streets of Havana for May Day, in Washington, President Trump expanding sanctions against the Cuban government. A 4-month U.S. oil blockade already straining a struggling economy, but the U.S. intent on regime change.
That building right there is the U.S. Embassy here in Havana, and today the Cuban government is surging hundreds of thousands of people right past its front door with a clear message. The Cuban government is not backing down.
We've traveled to Havana, where many go without power and often without food, and fuel costs $40 a gallon. Pediatrician Maria Elena Mesa forced to hitchhike to work. And inside the darkened hallways, they've scaled back operations, dimming lights to conserve power, using air conditioning only in critical areas. Care now hard to provide for the smallest patients. It's a little difficult, she says, fighting back tears, but she tells me she will keep working despite it all. At night, we witness Cuba's new normal, the island descending into darkness. We walk toward Idania Costa's home in the pitch black. For months now, her family has lived by candle and flashlight. Her daughter, Eliani, doing homework in the dark, and when it's time for dinner, bringing that one flashlight with her. Idania tells me it is the people who suffer in the tug of war between the U.S. and Cuba.
David, the U.S. government argues that it's the Cuban government itself that is responsible for a lot of the suffering that you just saw, and many people here do, in fact, want to see regime change. As one taxi driver told me, things are so bad, quote, many people want to see the U.S. come and attack, but they don't realize just how bad war can be.
As the U.S.-Cuba standoff intensifies, millions of Cubans are celebrating International Workers' Day this morning amidst devastating economic hardship. An oil blockade implemented by the U.S. squeezing the island nation, cutting off not just power and fuel, but for some, access to clean water and health care. Despite ongoing operations in Iran and the raid on Venezuela earlier this year, the Trump administration remains fixated on Cuba.
Cuba's a failing nation, and we're going to do this, and we may stop by Cuba after we're finished with this.
Not ruling out the use of military force and seemingly determined to force out Cuba's communist government, demanding economic and political change.
Those serious economic reforms are impossible with these people in charge.
The U.S. blockade has cut off nearly all oil imports. 60% of Cuba's oil needs were wiped out in a matter of days earlier this year. The effects felt immediately. Rolando Sosa is a taxi driver who showed us his Soviet-era Lada sedan parked. He can't work because he can't afford gas.
$10 por un litro. So what he just told me is that in order to get, let's say, a liter of gasoline, which is how it's sold here, is about $10 per liter, somewhere like 3.5, 4 liters per gallon. So that would translate to about $40.
Hospitals aren't spared either. Pediatrician Maria Elena Mesa says many colleagues can't even get to work for lack of gas. We asked how she was feeling. It's a little difficult, she says, but no matter what, I'll be here because it's what I do.
Now, the U.S. government argues that all the suffering that we've just laid out for you there is the fault of Cuba's government. They say years of ineffective policymaking, of incompetent stewardship of the economy here, of rampant corruption has led to this, that Cuba's problems are of its own making. But no matter who you believe, the Cuban government, the U.S. government, the reality is it's ordinary Cubans that are trapped in the middle.
We say, Berkeley, I'm shy.